Lieber construction video. We're going to start out on a scraper here. Is a Caterpillar TS2100. This one's just been reconditioned here. It's like a brand new one. Okay, we're going to start right at the front up here. Your grease points on these, right up here. There is a grease point. I'll try to zoom in as much as I can on these. Right there's your grease point. Right there he is. There's another one right on the other side over here. Right there. There's your main pin. Very important to get that. Things to look for in daily maintenance when you're doing these greasing. These pins right here, they're obviously not, these are just set in here right now. But if they start lifting up like that, if they appear loose at all, make sure you get a wrench and get them tight, or else you'll lose your whole rig. All those bolts hold it on, so you need to have those checked every time you grease, and every time you grease is daily. Here's another things that come loose, and this little cap will fall out. These bolts here come off. There's a pin in there, and that pin would slide out and come completely out. And again, you could lose your rig. So make sure you check these bolts and grease right there on both sides. Look for leaks and stuff with the hydraulic hose, and we'll when you go on site, they'll work with you on the hoses going in and off. There's little handles right here on your that will help release this handle right here. That will release that, and you have to wiggle it around a little bit when you put them back on. Always put your machine in float position when you're dealing with your hoses. And a lot of times it's best to keep your machine shut off when you're dealing with that. And sometimes if you don't have that option, try to do it without just mainly putting your machine in float the best. Okay, we're going to have a grease point right here on the top of this. There's the grease point, very important one right there. And when I get to the other side, we'll show you some other grease points. It's right on the opposite side of this pin right there. Going to right on the other side, there'll be two grease points over there. And coming up here next, we have grease points right there and right here. And same on the other side, same on the other side right there. There's 4 spots right there, and here's some more right in here at the top of that. Right there's one, and there's another one right there. Very important to get those in there. And then most of your points that are going to be, there's some kind of pivot points, they're going to be greaser. This doesn't have a whole lot of movement in it right over here. This doesn't have a lot. So it does not actually have one. It's probably got a sealed bearing in it. And then here's another one right underneath here. Right there's a greaser. And we're pretty good on the back of this rig. This doesn't have anything on the back side of it. These newer ones are pretty nice like that. They have anything that's pivot points. They got sealed bearings, like that piece is sealed bearing down there. And everything else should be sealed in the back. Okay, we're on the other side of the machine now. There's those two zerts I was talking about. One right there. One right there. So we got the 2 up front, 2 there, 1 at the top, and these 4 right there, and then those 2 back there. And then there'll be 1 on each one of your lifts up there on your lifts. And another thing to look for is these pieces right over here. Look for any excessive wear like there. That gets a lot of lifting up and down. Just kind of check those out. See if there's going to be any excess wear in that point right there. And then there's a cutting blade. When you have this lid up, they call it the lip. Some of the guys call it a lip. When that lip is up, look down at the bottom. There is a cutting edge down there. At the bottom is your cutting edge. That gets a lot of abuse. So that cutting edge, take a look at it, make sure it's not missing part of it, or you get big chunks missing, or it looks loose. Always take a look at that. So a lot of guys will call this your gate or your lift, and some of the guys even call it a lip. But I just call it your lift gate. And this back piece here, that whole back piece, this moves forward to push your dirt back out to unload this machine. And they call that the crowd. So you're gonna, it's called the crowd. And then the back wheels, it is something, if you notice, if it looks like they're leaning in or anything, they should be, if it's sitting level, the rims should be very adjacent. If they look like they're leaning in or something like that, or if they're driving around with it, you're driving around with it, and it looks like they're wobbly back there, make sure you tell your supervisor and they'll get a hold of a mechanic. But that's about all on the scraper here. One other thing, it's just something you have to deal with when you're in the field. When you're self-loading, that's when you're just loading yourself. You have to just get used to how far, the depth that you can put this in, and you always put your gate up about a foot or so up from the opening there. Just bring it up about a foot or so, give it about a distance between the lift gate and the cutting edge. Should be a foot, couple feet. Sometimes it all depends what kind of material you're doing. If it's sand or if it's hard dirt, it all depends. You know, you're just going to have to work with the materials you're working with. You're working with sand. If you're working with sand, you're going to have your gate open a lot more and then you perhaps go a little bit deeper with it. But that's just all practice in running the machine. Okay, that'll do it on the maintenance of this machine, and I'm going to go inside and look at we're going to go through the tractor, the Challenger it pulls us. Okay, let's show that. That was the scraper we just looked at right back there. We call that a 21-yard scraper. And this here is a 85E Caterpillar Challenger. And I'll go through some of the points on this here. Right there is where you fill the oil. The dipstick is right underneath, right over here. There's your dipstick. Check that in the morning before you even start the rig up. There's a water separator thing, and check for water in there. You can't drain it out through that thing. And right at the bottom there's a little valve. And here's another fuel filter. And the thing right on top there is a fuel pump up there. So if you have to prime it, that is a pump where you can do the priming of the fuel. Right there's the transmission dipstick right there. We're going to continue on this. This is actually the fill for the tranny. And then here is the sight glass. So there's the tranny there, and right over here is the silver one right there. The silver one is the sight glass for the hydraulics. The other one, it's supposed to be kind of a clear tube, but it's kind of discolored from being have diesel fuel in it for so long. But right there is how much fuel is in it. You can see the different color. That is the fuel one, and there's how you put the fuel in. It's right up there, and that is where you put the hydraulic. Hydraulic is there. Fuel is there. And there's both your sight glasses for that. Another sight glass is right down here. It'll tell you, there should just be some at the bottom of it, and it'll actually tell you where it needs to be on there. Check your little bogey wheels. They're called bogey wheels. Kind of give them a kick, or when you're driving along, have somebody else watch your wheels, see if they're wobbly and stuff. Important to check those. And that bag should have 60 to 80 pounds pressure in it, somewhere in that area. And then there's another fill thing here. We're checking fluid in that area. Coming back here to the back, there is the differential fill, and the differential sight glass is right there. That little window right there. Differential sight glass, differential fill. And you can actually fill this one from both sides. It has two fill caps for the fuel. And another important thing, this is underneath the tractor here. I'll try to get down there, and I don't know if I can even get it right in the middle down here. Right in the middle down here, and we'll try to get a little light down here. 1 second. There, that gets you a little light. In this area here, there's a greaser. That's supposed to be done daily also. This belly pan, that is very important to get done. A lot of people forget it. A lot of people get lazy because it's down underneath the vehicle. Don't get lazy, because that needs to be done every day. Doesn't need a lot of grease, but you got to get some in there every day, because it does require it. Same with approaching these vehicles. Always use a 3-point stance as much as you can. 2 feet, 1 hand, 2 hands, 1 foot. These areas can be slick. You can get mud on them, get wet on there, or if it's cold outside, it can be a little icy. Take care of how you get in and out of the vehicles. Okay, I'm in the cab now of the 85E, I believe this was. Yeah, 85E. Here's your controls here. This first knob here is the throttle. And the second one here is your shifter. There you go, and there's your reverse. It's in neutral right now. These are your hydraulic levers over here. One will do the up and down of the cutting edge, or the blade, sometimes the guys would call it, and then the other one will do your gate, that lifts the gate up. And a lot of these are designed, when you lift that gate up, you just push it forward and it will lift up the gate, and then the crowd, the thing that pushes the dirt out, it will come up automatically. And there's just a few of the units out there where there's 3 levelers, but most of them only have 2. Again, here's the company radio that everybody uses here. Let's see, here's your other radio. If there's stuff going on in the dash, lights or anything like that, just talk to your supervisor and make sure that they know about it. There's a tilt wheel over here. It's still pretty self-explanatory, and there's a direction light, turn signal. Your lights are down there. Cooling, heating fan right there. Little switches turn the AC on, AC off, wipers. And these back here, these little guys, they will adjust the speed of your hydraulics, how fast to go up and down. There's those. Not everyone has those, but sometimes they're in a different position too. But that stuff should usually always be set up for you, but just something you have to work with when you get out in the field. Emergency brake right there, and right up here is a button where it puts your seat up and down. It gives you air in your air ride seat. Decelerator right here, so when you have it at full throttle, you'll come up to something. You never want to come up to, you're going to get self-loaded, or you're going to come up to something. Don't come up there and have a full throttle and the motor's just racing, coming up to a stop. Either use your throttle down by hand, or you use your decelerator, which is this right down here, and that way when you're getting loaded by somebody, you're not ramming the RPM's way up there. You keep it low, and then you have your clutch in, and if you're going to be loading for a while, just put it in neutral and then sit there with your brake on. And this is your clutch, and this is your brake. And this check would be checking all your gauges and make sure there's not anything going on there. And when you're again with your materials, when you're running one of these machines, first and second is probably the best to start loading with, and don't try to do too much. It all depends where you're at and what conditions, again, and what kind of dirt you have, and if it's wet out or super dry. It all varies when you get out into the field, and that'll just have to be something you have to discuss with your supervisor when you get out there. And when you dump your loads, it should be at a certain height, so it puts a nice level drop out when you put your material out. You don't want it setting too high off the ground, because it'll just come out in big chunks. And you want to keep it as level and as uniform as possible. Same when you're cutting. You don't want to go up and down and wave it. You want to keep it nice and solid, so don't over dig. Just kind of ease into it and find out where your power is, and get as much as you can in the shortest amount of area without spinning and working the motor too much in the tractor. This is about it on this. This is a Caterpillar 85E, and same with these. They should all have a sticker, and I don't see a sticker in this one. This must be one of the newer ones we just got. So we'll be having a sticker, and it tells you what oil and it uses for each, the differential, the oil, hydraulic. There'll be a sticker up there, and it'll tell you the name of the vehicle up there also. That's it for now. Thank you.